Hi guys, welcome back to Bunny Brick Designs. So, I know in the last video I said we were going to work on this cabochon. I actually went ahead and did the resin on the back of this, just so it's finished and we can wire wrap it. So I just did some UV resin. I did copper foil and just used decoupage glue, and then did resin. And I know my edges aren't great, but we're going to be wrapping that with wire anyways, so it's not going to be seen. So anyways, in the last one we did this, and I just wanted to kind of show you real quick. I've started adding for sale for my clients the ball chain to go with, and it's great with this ball chain with all of these copper beads. I think it accents it really well. So I was including the satin cord, but I decided to swap out and do the ball chain in copper. And it's really not that expensive. You get a small roll. You can get a small roll at Rio Grande, and it's like $11. And I bought 2 spools, and I got 7 chains, 7 18 19-inch chains out of a spool. So, you know, fairly inexpensive, but I think it's better than the satin cord. And obviously I'll take satin cords with me when I go to the shows, so that I can offer my clients an option. You know, maybe be like, hey, if you don't want the ball chain, you don't like it, I'll give you $1 off or $2 off. You know, if you want to use satin cord or something, and give them a discount, just because the satin cords are really inexpensive. Anyways, with that said, I'm going to do this in the same fashion as I did this, except I think I want to do, maybe want to weave it. I don't know. I'm going to start out with 3 because what we can do is we can take 3, and maybe if I bead weave it and wrap it around, it will, or weave it and wrap it around, it will definitely cover, and then we can always do something to and I need my straightener. There's my straightener. So first things first, I'm going to straighten out my wires here. And I'm just going to warn you, if I stop suddenly and, you know, pause the video and say I'll be right back, and then like the video picks back up, it's because one of my bunnies, Bella, is sick. She was at the vet all day today. She's got what they call GI stasis, and we've not been feeling good for a few days, so I'm being what I call hover mommy. Basically, I check on her every 5 minutes. I'm probably annoying her and driving her insane. But I want to make sure she's okay. All right, so these wires aren't exactly even, and that's fine. I just kind of cut. So now I need to, and I'm going to spool up some 26 gauge wire. And so I'm just going to wrap around this bobbin, just because if I'm going to do wire weaving, it's a lot easier to do it off the bobbin than it is to do it off the spool, and it works a lot better. So anyways, I'm just going to spool up a bunch of wire. Now you can, if you buy extras of these, you can spool these up ahead of time and just, you know, fill them up. And, you know, you'll, you know, not have to do it, but I end up using them over and over for different things. And then I'll use them up. And when I use them up, cause I usually do 1 copper, 1 silver, 1 gold. And then, Anyways, yeah. So I think what we're going to do is I think we're going to do a, well, I don't even know what you want to call it. Triangle pattern, ray pattern. So basically it's going to be, I'm just going to start it by wrapping around a base wire a couple of times. And then we're going to add a wire. We're going to wrap once around both wires. Come up between, and this is why I like the bobbins, because you can just come up between. And then I'm going to wrap around the third wire. And then I'm going to come down and wrap between wires 1 and 2, and then wrap around the base wire once. And I think we'll wrap around the base wire twice just to give it a little bit of space and make it a uniform pattern. So I'm basically just going to go up between 2 and 3. So I'm wrapping around 2 wires, come up between 1 and 2, wrap around 2 and 3, come back down, wrap around 1 and 2, and then wrap around my base wire twice. Just so it gives me this point, and I'm going to look at that. And I'm going to see if I like that. Because what I want to do is I want to have it wrap around the cabochon like that. And I'm not sure, do I like that? Do I want to put more spacing in between? Let me flatten those two and just see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I like that. I do think I like that. All right, so we're going to continue on doing that. And I'm going to do a few more rounds with you so that you can get the hang of it. And then I'm going to pause and do a bit of weaving, because what I want to do is I want to have it to be able to go all the way around on this. And then we can do something to lock the cabochon in place. We'll do something fun. So I'm going to continue on. So there's my 2 around the base wire. And now that I see 3 on there, I'm not sure I like that. I'm debating whether I want more space or if I want to do 2 wraps. So just for ha-has, I'm going to do one with 2 wraps and see what I think. I just wanted a little more bulkier on that top wire. Yeah, I think 2. So I can so what I can do is I can leave this like this. I can just undo my my singles and go with the doubles, because I like the doubles better. And so when you're doing your weaving, you don't have to follow a specific pattern that, you know, people say, oh, you have to do 2-2-2 or 2-5-2, or do whatever you think you like. I mean, again, it's your art. And if you start out trying something and you don't like it, you know, do a couple passes, change your design, and do a couple more. Now, see, I like that because it's more zigzag, and there's more of a gap between those, and it's more prominent. So, and now you're probably wondering, what am I going to do with those singles? So I will show you here in a second. I'm going to wrap around base wires twice. And so then all I'm going to do is go to this side and then just take my wire and unwind it from this side until I get to my 2-2-2, and just do that. So that's all you have to do, is just unwind it. So you decide you don't like something, go ahead, unwind it. you'll have a little bit of scrap wire, which is why I use a bobbin and I have all that extra wire in there, because then I don't have to worry about, oh, I cut a 36-inch piece of wire and then I need 36 inches and now I have nothing. And so I've got my 2 wraps there on this wire. I've got one more to go for the singles here. And then we're down to, there we go. So see, that's all I had to do. Now I'm good. And because I haven't pushed this down, I could probably slide my wires one at a time down so that it's a little more down toward the end here. So now I'm not, because again, I'm going to want to go probably a good, I don't know, 2 inches to go around this cabochon. So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to do that and I will be back. All right, guys. So I finished up and it's kind of wiggly because I've been pinching it. So I've got about 3 inches here. So I was just measuring right before. I've got a little over 3 inches, maybe 3 1/4. And I think that should be good enough to build my frame around the cabochon. Now I've got this wire here, which is getting tangled into things, and I am just going to start snipping because I don't need anything anymore. I'm going to leave this one on here just because I want to make sure that I have enough, I'm going to get that out of the way. I have enough of a there we go. I have enough of a weave to do my wrap. And so I've got like bugs everywhere here. Have the windows open. Not even sure. Anyways, so I'm just going to take and wrap around, and I don't want it to completely cover because I do want to be able to bend my frame and bend my bales. So I am just going to do this, and so now I've got it around into a circle. I'm just going to straighten this out just a hair because it didn't bend perfectly, and do it just a little bit better again. Because what's going on is that bottom wire that is woven wants to stick out more than just because it's, but yeah, I'm liking that. And so that's going to sit in there nicely. And then we're just going to have to lock it in. And so now that I've gotten my shape here nice and round, I am going to make my bale. I'm going to make this just a little bit smoother here. Try to straighten out these wires just a hair. But that's quite perfect there. So now I'm just going to take my weaving wire here that's still attached, and I'm just going to wrap around several times, going up just to get it secured. We are going to cover that. Don't worry, it's not going to look that messy. I'm going to crimp that. And at this point, now we could set our cabochon in. And actually, I'm going to pop it in through the back. And again, if you have to straighten it, round it, you can put it back on the frame, and see that's holding the frame in there quite nicely, which means it's gonna, once this cabochon gets popped in, it will hold it. We just got to get it popped in, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bend this wire out of the way for the moment so it's in the front, and then I'm going to take the two back wires and I'm going to bend them down, because that is going to form a, I'm going to use that to form a frame here, and hold in the cabochon, and then we're going to do something in the front to lock it in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bend those down just to keep that there for the moment. And then we are going to take and separate out our wires, right and left. And the two front ones here are going to come up and they're going to form a bail. So I am going to wrap, and I'm just going to do wrapping. And I will probably do a figure 8. So a figure 8 is going to be, so I wrapped around the two wires twice just to start it. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to straighten these wires out just a bit, because they look like they got a little twisted there. And so that figure 8 wrap is going to be, I'm going to go over the bottom wire, or the wire that's facing me that's at the bottom. Or if you're doing it this way, it's the left wire. I'm going to come back up, go back through, so it looks like it's got a second wrap there, but then I'm going to come under the right wire or the top wire and go over that. Do that twice, and then do that, and just follow that pattern. So it's basically 2 wraps around each wire, and then you alternate direction and go 2 wraps around the other wire. And it's okay if it V's out a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. And so trying to make it as neat as possible. It will look a little bit messy to start. Trying to keep it so that these wires aren't too far apart. And I'm going to go up maybe, I don't know, an inch, half inch. And actually, I'm going to take these 2 back wires for now, because I do want this bail to go back down. So maybe we'll use the bail wire as the frame. So I'm going to continue on with this wrap, and I will be back to show you what it looks like when it's done. It's going to be a little bit messy, but that's fine, because I think we may do some additional stuff to it, and put stuff in front of it if you don't like the way it looks, but I will be back. So real quick, guys, I just wanted to tilt the camera up and show you little Miss Velvet here eating her cookie on her little cardboard cottage. She's just chilling out. This is what she does every time I do videos. Anyways, just wanted to show you that. All right, guys. So I've got my about an inch, maybe a little less. And I'm going to make my bail, and I'm going to do a small bail. I don't need to do a large one on this. So I'm just going to use my 3rd step and then just wrap that around and make a tiny bail. Now I've got these wires back here like I was going to use the other 2. And I'm just going to kind of separate them into a V shape. And before I Well, yeah, we're just going to do it. We're going to do a V shape there. And then before I do anything with those, I am going to wrap my weaving wire around the bail a couple of times just to anchor it up here at the top. I'm going to pop my cabochon in. And then I'm going to take this wire and decide how I want to lock it in, because I don't necessarily want to wrap it around my frame because I like how the frame looks. So what I may do is, now that it's in there, just do some kind of decorative curve around the cabochon here. And so what I'm trying to do is just kind of follow the frame and just curve it around. And then I am going to tuck it probably through the back there. So I'm just going to bend this and stick it on back through there somewhere for the moment, and decide what I want to do with it after, because we can adjust that. So that is, it's not going to hold it in quite yet. Again, we're going to need to do the second one. And I think this one, we're going to cross over and do the same, because I don't want to bury this cabochon. I want it to show. And again, we're going to stick it in. I can tighten this down. I can anchor this somewhere, like I can maybe get some wire, something in there to anchor that down. Use my pliers here to tighten that, just so it's nice and tight against the frame. Stick this on through, and again, so that we're not covering it. And I am going to do something down here, so don't worry, that's not going to just look like that. And again, I'm winging this, so I design on the fly. I do like that. So we are gonna, I don't actually like that. All right, we're pulling those out. Don't like it. I don't like it. I do like the curve. I just don't like that crisscross. So I am wondering if, and again, I'm going to straighten my wires. This is the beauty of having this wire straightener, because I can straighten this so that even though it's got creases and crimps and stuff in it, I can straighten it, and the nylon jaw isn't going to scratch your wire. I mean, it's not going to get it perfect, but what I can do, though, now is, I think, leave those two together, and maybe, just maybe, I'm going to anchor, I might just anchor it. It's going to make the cabochon extremely tight, but it may anchor. Oops, that's got to go the other side. And so I'm going to stick my cabochon in just so that I don't misshape my frame. And then I'm going to pull these as tight as I can. And that's going to hold the cabochon in through the back. And I'm just pushing it in as far as I can to the front. And I need to pull this wire here just because. And so if I can pop that out, I want to flatten this up against the frame, just so it is not, it's not going to have a big gap down there at the bottom. All right, so we've got that in. All right, so that's in. Now I can literally just cut these off because I don't need those. And I'm going to do a little tail, and then actually that's kind of too big. I'm going to do a little tail, and then take it and wrap it around itself and stick it through the side here, if I can get it to bend. Come on. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing there. I'm going to cut just maybe a 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to curve it. And that one just went a little easier. And I'm just going to tuck that in there. All right, so now we've got that, and it started to stick out a little bit. There. Now we've got that. So now I've got these 2 wires, and I can always add more wires later on. So for this, I think I'm going to just take these 2 wires because they're small, and I am going to curve them and do a small spiral here, and then just cut those off. Because again, I don't want to have a ton on the front of this cabochon. I want it to be small. So I'm just going to curl this a little bit more, and then I'm going to take this other one and try to curl it so that it is just a little curled, a little bit more. There we go. And that's fine. I don't need it to be, you know, together. And then these 2, and my bail is getting a little messed up, which is fine because we can just stick in a round nose and just round it up. I'm going to take this. I am going to swirl it here. I'm going to then curl that, and I'm going to fold this in back, and then I'm going to trim those off because it's going to we'll attach those right there. And by no means am I done with this, because while that's cute, I want to do something around this side. So we're going to attach something to the bail and do, we're going to do something. So I'm going to take these, and actually I'm going to trim these off just so that there's not so much on the back. And I'm going to curve that and tuck that right in there. And then I'm going to curve that one and tuck that right in there, so they're not sticking out through the front, but they're sticking into the frame. All right, so we've got that, and I am going to trim this off, and I am going to tuck him back in there for the moment. Now I want to add just one more accent going down the other side. So I'm going to take, I don't know, length of wire, probably, you know, I'm eyeballing it here, 12 inches, 14 inches, and I'm going to stick it through the frame, And I am going to just wrap it around the frame, and I'm probably going to do this and then have it go through the back, around the back, because I don't want it to be showing in the front. So we'll do it back here, and I'm going to pull this tight just to anchor this. So I'm going to need to continue to pull it so that it will tighten up around the bail without distorting my bail. And then I'm going to take this side and I'm going to fold it over so that they're folded together. And I know I've got a lump there, but again, we can take our pliers and just put them together. Now they're back there, and I want to curve this, and I'm going to curve it over the bail and right literally on top of the bail, and I'm going to come kind of, let's see, I want to come back behind this wire here because I want this little swirl to show. So I may do, let's do a loop there, and my wires are getting distorted, but again, you can straighten them out with your, and I need my, I'm going to do a loop there. And then I am going to come around here like this, and I think I'm going to want to anchor that somehow there. I'm going to come around the back, again, trying not to bend that. I'm going to come through here. So I'm going to come in between this. Okay, so that is going to anchor my swirl on the top. And now I'm coming underneath that swirl that I didn't want to hide. And again, just going to give this a little, I'm going to hold on, but I'm going to give it a little tug just to make sure these are nice and tight against there. And they still got a little ways to go, so I can continue to pull one at a time because I want it super tight against the bail back here. So what I'm doing is I was looking here to see how close it was to the bail. Okay. And we will fix this curve here. There we go. And I'm just going to curve that just a little bit because I want that right there. And again, I could anchor this down with some 26 gauge wire. Now that caused my loops here to pop up. So I'm just going to give them a little curve and try to bend them back toward the frame. And then this now is going to come, and we may anchor those. I may anchor that right there. I'm going to take these wires and straighten them out with my, trying to make them look a little bit nicer, a little bit smoother, so that when we do our swirls, they look a little bit better. All right, so now we're going to take and swirl this. I think just doing I want to do a curve, but I want to do a curve like that. I think we're going to put a swirl in there. Nice tight swirl up against. And do I like that? I don't like that because that wire doesn't look right to me. Let's see if we can fix this. If not, we'll cut off and put a new piece on. So this is the reality. You know, I know you see a lot of videos where people are doing things and it's perfect. It's never perfect, and I'm going to cut that off because I don't like that. I do like the idea. I just don't like these wires. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'm just going to tuck these, if I can get them here, tucked in around the frame. There we go. So I have a swirl up top, and it's covering my bail because I really don't like the wire weaving around the bail. All right, so now we've got that. I need something for down here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of wire, square wire, and again, I'm just eyeballing the length. Whoops, dropped it. And I'm going to come through my back frame here. So I'm just going to lift up a little bit. I am going to wrap it once here just so it's anchored quite nicely. And yes, I know it's a mess. Welcome to the wonderful world of wire wrapping, because it's never pretty when you're working with it. When it's finished, it's pretty. So I'm just pulling this as tight as I can. I'm going to pull this side as tight as I can and try to bring those two wires together. Because now I'm pretty much where I need to be to start. And so what I can do now is take my wires, do the spiral, and that it's got a little kink there. So let's just unkink that. All right. And if you have to, don't worry about re-straightening like this. You just need to make sure that those curves are not sharp. I don't want right angles. So what I want to do is I want to come around. I'm going to put my thumb there, and I'm going to do a nice curve there, just like that. And see, that's more of an right angle. So I want to just curve that. I think I'm going to do a swirl. I think it calls for a swirl there, just because I've got a swirl on the other side. And now I'm going to angle it around here and then come back behind, come around, and do a swirl down here, and that works. And then I'm just going to cut that off, and we will be anchoring. We will tie these down back here. I'm just trying to push those up just a hair, just so they anchor better. And then I'm going to cut that off, and I actually like that. Now, I like that tight swirl, so I'm going to cut right there. And then I'm just going to make sure these guys are not sticking out and are kind of flat, if I can get them to flatten out. So this one needs to be a little shorter. And we need to make him a little tighter. And then he's going to sit right inside this other guy. There we go. And then that's going to curve just like that. And that's going to sit there. So now I've got my swirls in. And it's the majority of, and I like that, the majority of the cabochon is showing. My sides where I did my resin are hidden. I need to anchor this down, which is fine. I can take a piece of scrap and just do lift up just a little on this wire. And then all I have to do to anchor those together is just literally do a couple of wraps. I'm going to do it on the diagonal. And that's going to anchor it in place there. And then I will do a couple of wraps around the, I'm going to take that guy out of the way. So there's the little tail. I'm just going to go around this base wire in. So I went diagonal. Now I'm going around this base wire just to secure it right there in place. And then I can cut these off. And I can tuck this down going up there in toward. And then I can cut this off with a little tail and push my tail in. Just making sure all my tails are under and no rough edges. So now that's anchored. And now we can anchor this corner here. And again, we're just going to wrap around on the diagonal. Not as if I can get my wire through. It's a little tight, so maybe I need to go from this direction. That's down in there. I'm just holding my tail off out of the way. And it's really hard to see because I've got that copper backing there. So when I wrap the wire around, it's really hard to see the copper wire when it's right up against it. And then this one I'm going to wrap around here. Well, let's just wrap it around the frame like we did before, just to make it uniform. So there's one. And two, and we'll do one more just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then we're going to cut, leaving a little bit of a tail. Tuck that tail in. Do the same thing here. Leave a little bit of a tail. That's probably too long of a tail, but yeah, that's too long of a tail. There we go. That broke. So now we're just going to Wrap it around there. All right, so now I don't have any rough edges. Now, the question then becomes, do I want to add any beads? Do I want to put a bead in there, put a bead there, put a bead there? Maybe put a bead here. And I think I'm going to look for a blue bead. So, accenting, I've got blue and purple beads here. They're glass beads. So that's more pinky than purple. That might work. I just want something right there, I think. Possibly, maybe that's a little too big. Let me see if I have smaller beads. In that color. I have amethysts. I do have a very light blue. That might work. I think that will work. So I'm going to put one bead there. I'm going to grab some copper spacer beads. If I can find where I put my copper spacer beads. I put them in the wrong bin. Not good. All right. So I just want to put a bead there. So I want this kind of just sitting there. And we may put a bead, maybe some copper beads. So I'm going to take a piece of wire, and I probably have scrap. Do I have enough scraps? I don't. So I'm just going to take a piece off of, and I want a long piece because, again, I don't know how many beads I want. And I'm going to wrap around the frame or the bail. And so all I'm doing is just kind of hooking this in, getting that out there, making a U shape so that it'll hook around the frame. And then I am going to take that end and wrap it back around and see if I can find it. There we go. And finish it off on the inside. So now that wire's anchored pretty good. And I think I want to do this. I'm going to stick this through here just so it's coming out underneath this swirl. And I want to do a small copper bead and then the blue bead and then another copper bead. And so this is a 6mm rondelle in like a light frost. And I like that. And now I just need to figure out where I want it to anchor to. Because see, I could just anchor it. I think I'm just going to anchor it right there. And I'm going to come up through, if I have space. Let's see if we can go down this way. Yes, I can go down that way. So we're going to go down. And that looks cute. I'm just going to anchor it to this swirl with 2 wraps. like that. And then I am going to figure out where I can come back up. And I think I'm going to come back up and go through here and come out this other side and not through my swirls. That went between the swirls. Why did that go between the swirls? All right, there we go. And I think I want to put some copper beads. And I'm going to start out with a big one. I think there. That works because that will be up there. And then we're going to graduate these and do that. And we're going to continue on. I'm going to do 3 of these 4 mils. Oops. And then, well, first off, I'm going to get something in that because I can see wire, and I don't like seeing wire when I'm stringing. So we're going to do a small one. I think 2 of these big ones, and then 3 little ones, and then 3 or 4 really tiny ones. So we're going to do that. That will get me into my corner there. We'll do 2 there. And we'll do 3 of these. And will that get me where I need to be? I need 1 more small one. And then that's perfect. That will get me to where I want it to go. Yes. Do we want to do it over the swirl or under the swirl? I think over the swirl. I think over the swirl, maybe. Or do we want to come down? No. I think what we're going to do is if I can get this here, we're going to wrap it. We're going to wrap it around the swirl, under the swirl. So I'm just going to try to get my wire back under there. There we go. And tuck this down as tight as it can go. And then that'll also allow me to take this swirl here and anchor it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this opening on my frame if I can get my wire through somewhere. And I should have space if I didn't do it too tight. And I may have done it too tight, because I'd like to anchor that to the frame. Oh, did that go in? Yes, but I'm not sure where it's coming out. All right, so yeah, I'm not going to be able to anchor it to the frame, so I'm just going to wrap it around the swirl one more time just to get me a nice tight connection. I'm also going to, I think, wrap around these swirls because they are moving on me. And see if that's going to look bad. I'm not going to wrap around the swirls because that's going to, I don't like that. So we're just going to pull this guy out. And I may anchor those other swirls to the back. Again, I'm trying to make sure that people aren't seeing too many points where things are anchored. I like that. That gives me more focus up here. It does cover the cabochon a little bit, but not much. Now, these two things, even though they're tucked in, are giving me fits. So what I think I might do is pull them down just a hair and see if I can anchor them to this wire here. So I'm going to come through those two wires and wrap around them a couple of times just to, and trying not to pull them out of their little home here, which I just did, but then taking them and making sure this is nice and tight around those, and then anchoring it to this crossbar so that they're not going to go anywhere. Because again, I don't want this coming apart, or if somebody's wearing it, like suddenly move and snag somebody's fabric or their clothing. So I'm going to anchor it on the back, and I'm just going to stick this guy through here and anchor it to the frame one time. And I'm going to cut that off and kind of tuck those in, and then cut this off and tuck that in. And while this isn't the most perfect piece I've ever done, I do like it. Not sure I like the back. I've got a snag there somewhere. I just don't know where. There. It's that guy right there. It's that guy right there. He did not want to. All right, so fine. You don't need to be sticking out. You need to be tucking in. And see, that's what I mean. You need to rub your fingers across it. And if you have any snag points, you need to address those. All right, so we did another wire wrap. It's not my most, most perfect work, but again, the easiest part of it was wrapping the template. I love those templates that I made for myself, and now that people have asked me, yes, I'm selling them in my Etsy shop. And there's a link in the description if you're interested, or you can make your own. I just find it's easier to wrap around something that has a flat edge versus a domed edge. Anyway, so yeah, so now I've got 2 additional wire wraps, and I have a chain here. So all I'm going to do is, and I see a snag point. I see wire that didn't quite get wrapped in. And so, I'm sorry, I was off camera. I was just tucking some wires in. And trying to bend this swirl just a little bit more so that it's more centered. On there. There we go. And see, there's a snag point right there. I can see it sticking out. This guy right here. And so I keep trying to tuck him in, and then he keeps popping out. So we need to bring him there. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what that is, but he needs to get, we're just going to snip him because he should be tucked in there. Because that was the thing. He should be tucked right up against the frame here. The problem is he's sticking out just a little more than I would like. There we go. Perfect. All right. So there we go. And that's moving around a little bit more than I'd like. Just because this is loose. A little loose. There. There we go. Tighten that up a little bit. There we go. So yeah, so feel free to adjust. Like, don't just do something. If you don't like something, adjust it until you like it. Anyway, so that is another wire wrapped cabochon using the frame maker. And I do like the beads on that. I think that's very pretty. I like the swirls. Not sure I like this one down here. Just because I marred the wire a little bit, and I'm not sure if I'm liking those swirls, so I may just try to adjust these again. And I did it a little too much there. And see, that made a point that I didn't want to make, unfortunately. I may cut that off. That one may come off, or get bent around back here for the moment. Yeah, we're going to cut that off just because I don't like it. And this is the other thing. If you don't like something, and it's annoying you, don't keep it. It's, you'll only end up resenting it later and then having to try to fix it. And I'm just going to stick that in there. That's perfect. Now that's, to me, that's even better. It's shows more of the cabochon, and I don't have that marred swirl. Anyways, now I'm done playing. Now I'm done tinkering. I'm done fidgeting with it. I'm sure you all have, done things where you play with it and play with it and play with it. And I've done things where I've played with it so much that I've ended up having to scrap it and start all over again. Mostly because I broke wires or irreparably bent things. So, just think about what you're doing. If you don't like something, don't keep it. But then again, don't overwork it to the point that, it becomes unusable. And I'm just cleaning up here while, we're wrapping up. I'm trying to keep my workspace clean. Now, sometimes I will keep scraps, that are long and use them for things, but these are all kind of bent up. So I'm just going to toss those rather than try to reuse them. That's a good piece of wire. We'll keep that because I can use this, something like this. I can use to just kind of wrap something small or just anchor something. And so all I'm doing is just trying to stick it back on my my bail here just by pulling it through. And anyways, so I hope you enjoyed it. Again, the frame makers are on my Etsy shop if you're interested. And coming up, I got the notification today that my bargain bead box is in the mail, so we'll be doing another unboxing. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching.